Hello guys, today I have a Mazda 3 2007. We have a code P0441, EVAP emission control system incorrect purge flow. I did some homework. This can be due to a bad purge valve, bad vent valve, leak in the system, just the regular stuff. This system is, I have not done my homework 100%. It has actually a leak control pump or some sort, and that's kind of in the same unit with a vent valve. So it has a pump that provides the positive pressure. The computer uses that to look for leaks. I'm not sure if you use that for maybe to find a small leak. I think for the gross leak it just looks opens the purge valve and shuts the vent valve and just looks for the vacuum in the system. So anyhow, my first test, got my here's a purge valve here, and I got it disconnected. This is the line here. It's disconnected from the back of the valve. I just got my vacuum gauge here, and we're just gonna start the engine first and look to see if we have a vacuum with a vacuum here. If we do, then it seems like our purge valve is stuck open, and then now of course we have to make sure we don't have power and grounds applied at the purge valve itself. But when I start the engine, computer is not going to do that right away, so we should not see any kind of negative pressure on the gauge. So just to start the engine, and we can see we do not see any negative pressure, meaning that our purge valve is not stuck open. So next we're going to do bidirectional control, and that's the only bidirectional control I have for this system. I can only activate the purge valve. Alright, so there you go. There's a purge valve here. I don't need any of this data. Okay, so I'm just gonna activate the purge valve, just like 16%, whatever, and it does work. So you can see that it's opening, and I cannot completely shut it off, and I still have a vacuum on my gauge. So I'm just gonna go out of this test, and it should turn it off, and you can see that gradually is going down to zero. So these purge valves seem to be working the way it should. At this point I'm going to walk away from the purge valve being a problem. Alright, so the next step we're going to do, we're going to shut the engine off, and then we will pressurize the system using our smoke machine. We will pinch the hose in the back between a leak detection pump and a charcoal canister, and pressurize the system and look for leaks. The smoke machine is hooked up right into this hose, so this leads to our plumbing basically all the way to the fuel tank and in the charcoal canister and all that. So now the next step we're going to do, we will pinch the hose between the charcoal canister and the leak detection pump. Here's the fuel tank. This is a rear wheel, the rear right wheel, and charcoal canister. We're going to pinch this hose here, and our leak detection pump is this guy here, right there. Alright, and then let's see if you guys can see that or not. I'm going to put some lights right there. It's the leak detection pump. You can see it's been replaced before, and then so did that rubber hose. This rubber hose connects the charcoal canister to the leak detection pump, and then from the pump it actually goes into this plastic hose into the filter here. Okay, and now we will pinch this hose here. Okay, so we're gonna turn the vacuum machine on. Smoke machine on, and look for leaks. Now I did modify my machine a little bit. I can actually apply the air only without even turning the smoke on. I know I should use nitrogen, but I don't have it, so we're just going to use air, control pressure. I'm going to turn this on, and then we're going to look for this ball to drop down pretty much below 20 You can see it's already dropping. And it's pretty much all the way to the bottom at this point, meaning that we do not have a leak from the purge valve all the way to the charcoal canister and the fuel tank and all that. So that seemed to be okay. Then next, what we need to do, we need to check a vent valve, make sure that works okay. So it's right all the way to the bottom right now. So I'm just going to turn this off, and you see actually it's holding the pressure just fine. Looking at the diagram, I have to say I'm a little bit confused about this guy here. I'm not exactly sure what that is. I looked at the symbol, it says a breakable wire. Maybe some kind of heater, which I don't understand why would heater be in it. So this is basically the whole unit that contains a pump here, and then this guy here is our vent valve, and this green and white wire. On this wire, computer provides a power, old full-time power, and then through this violet and 10, I believe it is, that controls the pump, and then the brown and white controls a vent valve. So what we're going to do, we're going to turn the key on, and then we're going to provide the ground. So this wire here, this brown wire, and that's going to close our vent valve, and then we're going to pressurize the system again and see if our vent valve is actually holding pressure the way it's supposed to. At this point, we're going to take the clamp off. Now on the diagram it doesn't show, there's basically a sub-harness between a pump and the rest of the harness here, so we can actually access much easier here. And wires, the color-coded wires are actually on this side, not on this side of the harness. So we can see here we got a green and white. That's the constant power that's provided by power control module. So we have a key on it at this point, and I'm going to back probe this wire, green and white, and we should have a power here. And we can see we have a power. Okay, and then we're going to move our lead to a brown wire, which is the one next to here, next to our green and white. And actually we should see the power going through the solenoid out, you know, through harness here, if the solenoid is intact, and we do. Now when I apply the ground to this circuit here, we should hear audible noise when vent valve closes down. So I'm just gonna press this button, and you can see it is actually clicking. So that does not mean it's working, but at least the circuit is fine. So now I'm gonna use this extension here from my power probe, and I'm gonna apply the ground, and then we're gonna pressurize the system again. I can do this, and then we'll go from there. Okay, and now we're going to pressurize the system. Our clamp is off. At this point we are sealing the EVAP system by vent valve only. I'm going to turn the air on again, and I'm going to wait for the ball start to dropping down. You can see the pressure is actually rising a little bit, and the ball is dropping. You know, at this point I'm not using a smoke, I'm just pressurizing the system with the air. To be honest, I don't like the smell of smoke. Unless I see the leak, I don't turn the smoke on. And you can see it's pretty much all the way to the bottom. Turn this off, and look at the gauge, it's holding the pressure just fine. So the vent valve is holding okay. Now we can put some smoke in. Alright, so I'm going to start pushing some smoke, and then we're going to disconnect the valve, and then we should see smoke coming out of the filter. So here's our filter, and now I'm going to disconnect the ground. I'm going to de-energize the vent valve, and that should open it, and we should see the smoke coming out of here. Okay, you can see that it released the pressure. I'm just going to wait a minute. The smoke should start coming out of here, out of the filter. There you go. Okay, I can energize the valve again. So the valve is energized. You can see smoke is gone. We already know that it's sealing okay, so but I just kind of want to show you guys where, you know, I don't always use a smoke if I don't have a leak. If my air doesn't show anything, then I'm okay. Let's just disconnect again. There you go. Alright, that works okay. Alright, so now we know we don't have a leak. Our vent valve is working fine. The purge valve is working fine. The last thing we can check, it's actually our pump itself. The pump is actually providing a positive pressure, and my setup here is I have my fuel tank pressure sensor. This is a GM fuel tank pressure sensor. Gonna have that connected to my EVAP system. It's unplugged from the vent valve. Then I have a little box that is going to provide the powers and grounds to my sensor, and then this wire basically connects to a my test lead to my picoscope, and so it's connected to picoscope here. And on my pico I actually customized my probe, and we can see now we have a minus 0.6 inches of water, basically zero. And then we're gonna activate the pump, but we have to also activate a vent valve at the same time so we can seal the system. And we'll have to we're gonna turn the key to on position so that PCM provides the power to our harness, and then we're gonna ground a pump and the vent valve, and it will see if this pressure is gonna rise or not. Now here I have a this purple and white and the brown and white wire. So one is a pump, one is our vent valve. So I got it back probed, and then I got the connected at the end. So we're gonna have the same source of ground. We're gonna ground this harness here, and that's gonna provide a power to a vent valve and the pressure sensor. And then we'll see if everything works the way it should. So now we can see we have a battery voltage, it's a little low. And now when I provide the ground, I'm going to activate pump and the vent cylinder at the same time. Press the ground. You can actually hear the pump running. But I don't think my purge valve, my vent valve, it's not closing. I have to check the wiring. Okay, I've got a power here, got a power here, so that's pump, that's a pump, why it's not. It should activate my vent valve. Let's see here. Okay, so that's a pump. Maybe that was the back feed, maybe it was not. Okay, there you go. Okay, alright, so now I did not have a good connection. There was a back feed. Alright, so now let's see. Try this again. Provide a ground. Okay, perfect. Alright, so everything's working now. And now I'm just gonna plug in right here. Okay, so now my vent valve is closed and my pump is running. Let's look at the picoscope. I can see my pressure is rising as the pump is running. Sorry. Alright, so let's go ahead and unplug it. I don't want to over pressurize the system. So now we're going to unplug the ground. Now you can see pressure went down to 0. So now everything works okay. The pump is working, the vent valve is closing, the purge valve is closing, no leaks. At this point it looks like it's intermittent problem. Unfortunately I'm not going to have a conclusion what is a problem with this system at this point. Well, at this point I think I did everything that I could possibly test with this system. Unfortunately I don't have a scan tool that can activate my pump and my vent valve to verify that circuit integrity. I don't think it's a problem because none of my components are shorted, meaning our vent valve is not shorted and our pump is not shorted. That could lead to that could fry our driver inside a power control module. It would be nice to have a scan tool with an option to activate it. I don't have it. I could possibly take a car for a test drive and see if there are any data that I could look for a vent valve and a pump, but I don't know when the computer is going to start doing the test. It can take forever. So at this point I'm just gonna finish it and tell the guy to come back again later and see what if it's gonna. I mean, at this point it's intermittent problem for sure. I mean, I can't just go ahead and replace the purge valve. I'm not sure the price, probably $50 or $60 for the purge valve, and I know the detection pump is $150, so I can't justify changing parts without knowing which part is actually not functioning correctly. But I do know that I do not have a leak. So between those two components, one of those doesn't really work. Now they said a possible cause could be also faulty power control module. I don't know, I mean, it's very unlikely to me, but again, at this point I'll just have to leave it as it is and clear the code and wait for the code to come back again and then retest the system again. Okay, well, that's all I can do. I'm not sure what you guys would do at this point. I never done the Mazda EVAP system. I wasn't exactly sure how the pump works. Does it make a positive or negative pressure? Again, I couldn't find the description how exactly it works. I'm assuming that a pump is used to find a small leak. Maybe once the PCM flags a large leak, it might use the pump to, you know, by applying the by closing the vent valve and opening the purge valve and looking at the vacuum, how long the system holds the vacuum. Maybe once it's finds a large leak, they maybe use the pump to find a small leak or something. So I don't know. I don't know what's causing the problem. It's intermittent, and we'll just have to redo the test sometimes later. All right, guys. Sorry about that. Thank you. See you next time. Bye bye.